Hello and welcome to episode 239. Today we are talking decision fatigue and how property developers can experience this because there are so many decisions to be made. Bob unpacks what an experienced developer does, what his rule is, how he makes decisions when he needs to, when there's a lot going on, and you got to be snappy. We're going to jump into this episode and you're going to take away tons. Let's get in. Hello, welcome to episode 239. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Hilary. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Just came over to the office to do a podcast with you. We, woke up, had our morning coffee together, just the usual for me.
Yep.
Anything new since then?
No.
Nothing. Today we're going to talk decision fatigue. It's quite difficult to say, decision fatigue. And it was inspired by a chat with one of the mentoring students yesterday because she was at a point where you've got to make some decisions to do some particular things. And she had decision fatigue. That's exactly what it was. But before we get into that, two things. Let's start with the book. Craig Narborough and the post to you. So remember the rules, right over to page 121. Craig's new in our mastery program and he's going to be a very successful property developer, so that's exciting. And we'll reach out for you for the address. So now the next thing, Bob, is do you have a tip for us today?
I don't know if it's a tip, but it's never over till it's over. You ever heard that? Probably.
Yeah, I have.
Or there's another one, it's never over till the fat lady sings or something. I've never worked out what that's about. But no, I was just thinking about, as you know, I'm a UFC fan. And I was there on the weekend to watch my good mate, Volk, defend his title against Lopez for the second time. But, Volk lost his title. A lot of people said Volk was too short. He's 5'6", right? So he was fighting somebody the other day, 5'11", in the old parlance. We always talk feet and inches because it comes, out of the States, basically. He won the title. He was undefeated for a long time. He suffered a couple of defeats, but he came back. And now he's defended it twice on his way. He's not a young man anymore. I think he's about 37, which is getting old for a UFC fighter. But it's never over till it's over. And, when you listen to him, he's one of the most determined people you've ever seen. He played rugby league early. He was a forward and he's 5'6" high. But he was tenacious and he's done exceptionally well as a UFC fighter. So, yeah, I get a bit of inspiration from that. So, it's never over. Just because he lost his title, he got it back. And it's never over till it's over.
A lot of people don't know probably, Bob, that you are an avid UFC follower. That's something you check in on a lot, often on YouTube, doesn't miss the fights that go on. We call it bingo. We say Bob's going to bingo, means he's going to watch fighting. I tried to watch it. I just can't. It's awful. Oh, so violent. Anyways, but I love the takeaway there. Yeah, you're never too old. And I suppose if we were to bring that to property development, how many people do we have starting property development in their 50s? Wow, Mary last week. Last week's episode where I interviewed Mary. It's never too late to do anything you want to do.
No, and Mary's young at heart.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I wouldn't even know what number it is. It's just a number anyway, age. But, yeah, but that's true. I mean, we've had people in our program developing in their 80s and, people I'm talking about.
Yeah. So, yeah, great takeaway. And, yeah, don't give up on your dreams. I think that whole, before we get into the decision thing, the whole, your dreams, the things you want to achieve, they are your responsibility. And I often think that people forget that. They wish for something, they want to achieve something, but they just don't take the responsibility on that. It's actually their responsibility to make it happen. And we come across all these reasons that we blame other people that have stopped us going where we want to go. But ultimately, if there's something you want to do, and if it is property development, it's your responsibility. And the longer you put it off, the harder it's going to be because you're always going to have another reason why you can't. We caught up with mentoring students on Saturday for lunch, which was great. And for a few of them that were in the area, and someone said, do you want to have lunch? And so we did. And it was just great to hear, even we heard Brett talking about, when he first decided to do property development and what he needed to do to get it done. And they went their site went unconditional last Friday, he and Kyle with their joint venture. So, once you make a decision and you make it your responsibility, you can make it happen. And so, that's another lesson here in this one. You're never too old. If there's something you want, then you just need to go for it. Yeah.
And even if it looks like it's drifted away, you can get it back. Like that example, like he lost his title. Everyone said you'll never get it back. It's getting too old. Got it back. And so even when a dream looks like it's getting away on you, fight for it.
Yes. So, Bob, we're going to talk decision fatigue. And everyone listening, I'd love you to try and say that, decision fatigue. It's okay sometimes, and other times it gets a little bit hard. But it's pretty underrated when it comes to property development. Would you agree? And what is your take on decision fatigue?
Well, a property development, you're constantly making decisions about everything. And property development might go for a 2-year period, but there's a lot of decisions that you make during that period. And anything from right at the very beginning, I suppose, deciding if you're going to do a property development, but just deciding, where you're going to do it, what type of project you're going to do, what can you afford, you're going to work with it, just a lot of decisions before you even go out there and look. And then, of course, when you're looking at something, there's so many decisions to make. You're doing your due diligence, feasibility, like do I, don't I, does it make enough profit, am I looking at the right product, and on and on and on all the way through, dealing with experts, dealing with people on the way through, people that are helping you do your project, but so many decisions, and that it's almost fatiguing talking about it. But
because you're rolling them off the tongue, but each of those things has multiple decisions in itself. You say do a feasibility, that means deciding on the number that you believe will be the sale price, deciding on the number that the build cost is going to come at. Those are all decisions. Deciding, there's lots of little decisions in there. Yeah, so those are the concrete ones at the beginning, and then we've got those ones that can happen during. As I spoke to Peter last week, during his build, another mentoring student doing a fantastic job. I'm so excited. Can't wait to see. I always want to see them. But he said, I just really noticed that what was also for sale around me was a little bit higher spec. So mid-construction, he changed a few things. So he made a decision to spend a little bit more on each duplex.
Yeah, upgrading things mostly.
And that was a smart decision, he believes, because he believes the outcome's going to, double what it would have been. So there's multiple decisions within decisions.
Yeah, and just purely on the volume, I don't want to put anybody off because, you make a lot of money, so make some decisions, but you do make a lot of decisions underway, and depending on, even your mental attitude, in terms of confident, are you confident in that decision, or are you not sure? Are you a bit, not so confident? And if you're not so confident, that can be a bit of an extra weight on it. If you really understand what you're doing and you can be decisive, then those sorts of decisions are less draining. But over a period of time, it can be under some circumstances. And now I'm probably heading into your realm.
No, I really liked where you went there, Bob, saying you've got to be confident with your decision making. And the problem with making decisions is that if we're not confident, we'll put it off. If we're unsure about something, we'll put it off. And then, as I say, it's just like an open loop. I always do it like a loop goes from your head back to your head. And if it's open, it's like a piece of loose wire flailing about there, or loose string, or whatever you want to, loose hair. If you've got enough hair like me, well, then it's loose hair. If you've got sort of less hair like Bob, well, then it's not going to flail around so much. But it's definitely one of those things that the more often you put off making the decision, the more scattered your brain becomes, because whether you believe you're thinking about it or not, your brain is holding it. And in the background, it's looking for the answer. And you might feel that yourself listening now. You might feel that, whether it could be about anything, should I do this or shouldn't I? And the more cluttered your brain becomes, it's been likened to, I did some work with David Rock, he's a neuroscientist, and he calls it having things on your stage. So if you've got one decision to make, you've got one thing on your stage, and say that's a clown and he's entertaining people, or let's say it's a singer. So you've got a singer on the stage, but you don't make that decision, but then something else comes along. So you add something else. So next thing you've got a monkey on a unicycle, because that's another decision to be made. So now you've got a person singing and a monkey on a unicycle, and you put off those two decisions, then you get another decision. And then so you got a lady with a crying baby. These are all the decisions you're making. So depending on how big or small, they all make different amounts of noise. And then you've got, what are we having for dinner tonight? Well, we've got visitors coming over. So that's two more people on the stage. And, you've got all sorts of things happening on it. You've got a farmer feeding his cows. You've got a teacher telling children what to do or something. So if you can imagine all of those things on a stage making noise, they actually make it very difficult for you to function and think. And that's what happens with decision. The longer we delay decisions, we put more things on our stage. And even though we don't consciously realize that they are there, they are impacting our prefrontal cortex, which is the part of our brain that makes decisions. That's an everyday function. And that's why making decisions is important. And if you can't, because you need more information, you need to tell yourself, I'm going to park that and come back to it. Yeah, and that's kind of the really simple. I love that analogy, don't you? That was from David
parking,
Rock.
Yeah.
No, the whole put it on your stage, because you can see how busy that is, and it's not ideal because there are that many decisions.
That reminds me of your laptop.
Well, with all the tabs open.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because you're doing 6, 8, 10 things at once. But the point is you're always going forward.
Yeah, and that can often be, and if we relate that back to property development, I might have something, I'm waiting for an answer for something else, or I'm needing to hear back from an investor who needs to sign a document for me. So I need that sitting there. So and I know it's coming in the next day or so, or whatever, or half hour, or whatever that is. But yeah, for me, but I do shut down the ones I don't need. But if I need them open, I'll leave them open. They don't distract me.
No. And like you say, you park it. Like that example, you're waiting for something from an investor, you expect it in 48 hours, just park it for 48 hours.
Yeah, parking it means you don't allow yourself to think about it. So it's not the monkey on a unicycle or the clown juggling ball. It's not distracting you. It kind of sits in the wings of the stage, and then it allows you that ability to let it go. But Bob, back to the mentoring student I was talking to yesterday, and the being confused about needing to make a decision about a couple of things. What do you see as the big problem there for, let's take that back a step to somebody wanting to do property development. Maybe they've got an online course, but they've got a course, maybe they've joined a community. Maybe they want to come to our workshop in May on the 1st, 2nd and 3rd. Maybe they want to do that. It's a blooming great workshop on the Gold Coast. But what are your thoughts around why they don't move forward?
Well, indecision, which could be caused by a lot of that clutter that you're talking about, and different things. I mean, they might not know what's the next step, where do I start, or they're looking at everything. Like they're looking at the, what's that old story about how to eat an elephant one mouthful at a time?
They're looking at the elephant.
Yeah. They're looking at the 1,000 decisions they're going to have to make between now and finishing the project, and that can prevent them. It can be fear. There's so many reasons, but they get bogged down and don't decide. But you've got to make that first decision before you make the second one, moving forward. So, just pondering over things that don't matter sometimes too. And that can be people looking for an excuse not to make a decision, because the easiest decision you'll ever make is not to make a decision. Or as you sometimes say, not making a decision is a decision in itself. And that's where things can get bogged down. I treat it pretty simply. Like, let's just say an average middle of the market duplex, you make, depending on where it is, but let's say on average you make $400,000 profit.
Let's just say that out loud. You do one duplex and you make $400,000
well,
profit.
Upmarket ones, we see heaps of them. People
for way more.
5, 6, 700,000.
But I'm thinking of people listening, they need to hear that. That's the money that can be made. It's just so good.
Just a middle of the market duplex, let's say $400,000 profit. So my question is to people, well, what would you be prepared to do to make $400,000? And I'm sure we get all sorts of answers.
Yeah, no, I just went to that movie. Remember there was a movie with, I think it was Richard Gere and Julia Roberts when he could sell his wife for $1 million. But
That
anyway.
might have been Robert Redford or something, wasn't it? Like, yeah.
Anyway, we're off piece, but I went there too, yes.
Yeah.
What would you do for $400,000?
Yeah, you'd do a lot for $400,000. And obviously if you could do something to make $400,000 while you're still, even in your day job doing stuff. So that's what a very average property development duplex I chose, middle of the market one can do for you. So what are you prepared to do? Well, I think if you think of that, I'd be prepared to do a lot. And so what is that lot? And it comes back to the beginning, where does it all start? And to just bog yourself down in indecision, like you're killing that opportunity potentially. If you carry it to the the ultimate level is you'll do nothing, or you'll start, or you'll stop, or you'll make 2 steps and stop. And it's worth going the distance.
And when you said there's a lot of steps to do, they're not difficult because, we do them, like we've got multiple projects going on and we're, us when we're mentoring, taking on 20 people a year to take them through developments. And we are, just so you know, they don't go after a year though. They stay around for a long time. Someone rang me yesterday and said, am I still allowed to, I'm actually finished my mentoring. I'm like, you never finish your mentoring. Of course you can stay on. But I think what people need to realise is that those are done, they're the little eating of the elephant bites that are done on the way. And what are you prepared to do? What are you prepared to do them? But it starts with making that decision. And you brought up a really good point, Bob, is where people clutter the decisions, which is a form of self-sabotage, which is often derived from fear or whatever. Because you also, when we discussed this morning. We weren't discussing the podcast. We were discussing the mentoring student because we want people to be successful. So we're having our morning coffee and we're having a chat about, what's going on for somebody and how we can improve that for them, or, what we can do to support them. And he said, did they do this particular course, another property course? And I said, yes, they have. And he goes, oh, that's why. It just gets cluttered with stuff that doesn't matter because people need to fill up a course with information. So because they'd previously done something else, they're doing stuff that doesn't matter. And a lot of things that people will do is things that aren't necessary because then they don't have to do the things that have an outcome, that have a real outcome, which could be, a little bit more risky.
Yeah, and you got to get that. I almost said crap out of your head.
You can say that, Bob.
You got to get that crap out of your head.
Yes.
Yeah, and the beauty. We see that, but the thing is, we notice it, we can see it, and then we can go in and help people correct that sort of stuff. But people that don't have that person to go to, that person looking over their shoulder, can what do you say? They just get bogged down in indecision, and the more they don't decide, the more they feel like hopeless, useless, frustrated, angry.
Yeah. The thing is, the failure one is a reason people don't make a decision often, because if you don't move forward, then you can't fail. And so you listening right now, is that a reason you're not doing the thing you want to do, be that property development, be that whatever that is? But we're here to talk property development, and you're here to listen to property development. If it's something you do want to do, are you afraid that, people might look and say, who do you think you are? Are you afraid of that stuff? I rang my mother last week and said, Mum, guess what? I just bought a childcare. She's like, what? And that's such a big deal because, we're develop some stuff in that space right now. But could I have done that 10 years ago? Well, I probably couldn't have bought one 10 years ago or been in a position to do one because my decisions have gotten better. And, we've got investment partners and, how we structure our stuff is how we do our developments. But I now can make those decisions to do that because I still had to decide to do it or not. I had to refinance stuff and I had to do stuff to be part of that. But they were decisions I was prepared to make because I knew the risk factors, because I can back myself, because I know everything I need to know. I know I have the right support around me. I know all that stuff. So that decision for me, I'm going to use that word no-brainer. And how often do you use a no-brainer? If you want to do property development, Property Mastermind's course and the support we offer, it's a no-brainer. And I can easily say that hand on heart because I know it is because of what we do offer people. unlimited chatting with us.
Yeah. And, 16 years of successfully creating developers too. So it's got a record.
60 odd years it is.
66.
Oh, 16 years of creating property developers. Yeah, not just
yeah.
not a new course just out there.
No.
Yeah. But experience of like just so many years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But Bob, there's another thing that people get caught on. And if you finish there, because I was just going to go into the data versus the emotional side of making a decision. When you make a decision, because you make big decisions, like Bob has some pretty hefty decisions to make sometimes. When it comes to property development, is it emotional or is it data driven?
Human beings are emotional creatures. So for some, they have to fight that emotional side more than others. Probably less me. I'm more an analytical individual, so I'll be driven more by the mathematics of something. Not pure maths, of course, but then everybody has a comfort zone, and if you're working with some seriously big numbers that are outside of your comfort zone, perhaps, then that's. Even being analytical won't get you there. Over the line. So. If you're asking me about me personally, I am more analytical, I'm less emotional, but you have to divorce emotion, really. That's not to say you ignore your gut feel, because, we've all got a gut feel. I've sort of developed, I think, a sixth sense over the years, where I just get a feeling about stuff quite early in the piece, and maybe it takes a while to develop that, but it's, if the analytics didn't work, the gut feeling would be bad anyway. But sometimes, you got that, you might be like 85% analytical and 15% more, not so much emotional, but more of that, the gut feel. It's just that just feels right, just feels good, But I wouldn't make a decision purely on gut feel unless it was backed with the analytics.
Yeah, it was a few weeks ago, I heard you say, we were talking about probably personality profiling, or it was about something, and you said, I just like to look at the facts and I make my decision on the facts. You said that to me a couple of weeks ago. And if you understand gut feel, I did a podcast for those that listen to the Bounce Back Better podcast. I did one it was talking about gut feel and stuff, and I might put the link underneath. It's based on the work of David Rock again. I actually went to a lecture that he held, so he's a neuroscientist, but he was talking about how somebody might arrive home and their gate's not quite shut properly. It's just a little bit not, but they don't really notice it, but they kind of did. And then they walk to their front door and the plant, it looked like it had just been moved a wee bit, but they didn't really notice it, but they kind of did. And then they went inside and they just had a feeling that something wasn't right. But what that meant was that's gut feel. The gut feel is often you've noticed things that have happened. So when you're making those gut feel decisions after you have analysed a deal and I get that gut feel. After how many thesos would you have looked at in your life? In the hundreds of thousands, I'm guessing, or at over 100,000, would you have looked at that many feasibilities?
Oh, probably not that many, but a lot. It'd be in the four figures anyway.
Yeah, so you're in the four figures of looking at feasibilities. You would have that sixth sense of, I'm going to spend a bit of time on this, or no, I'm not, because your brain is so used to knowing what to look for. And maybe it's a bit to do with that.
Yeah, and a bit of subconscious. I think the cogs are going in the background, like you said, the gate a little bit ajar, but half noticing, not really noticing, and these sort of things accumulate. Front door, pot plant move, all that sort of stuff you just mentioned. It's ticking away in the background.
So you notice, that's a good number. Oh, that sale price works there. Oh, if that's that build price would probably work. Oh, I might actually look at that. And then when we went to the emotional side of things, that's more the purchaser, isn't it? The purchaser of the thing we develop, they're going to buy it emotionally, really. We don't need to be emotional about that. We can get emotional when we get the sale, or when we go unconditional on the side, or when we get finance. That's when we can be emotional and get excited. But to those first steps getting started, it's not about emotion.
No, and it's overcoming negative emotion too, like something like fear. Now that can hold some people back. Yeah, it's a question why you're fearful, but like all of a sudden they've got to make a decision. They've got to borrow the money. They've got to sign mortgage documents. They're signing directors' guarantees, personal guarantees on the loan. I'm borrowing.
Me last week
could be borrowing $2 million. Well, yours is, but for somebody doing a duplex that could be, borrowing a couple of $1 million. All of a sudden, whoa, geez, that's different.
Yeah, that's that unknown stuff as well.
You shouldn't get to that point of being fearful, because if you've really educated yourself properly and you know what you're doing, particularly if you're getting help from somebody who's done it 1,000 times, the fear really shouldn't. There might be a little tingling bit of fear. A little bit of fear is good. It keeps you alive,
Keeps you on your toes. You don't want to be bullish. I suppose that's right. You don't want to be charging in and just go, yep. You do need to stop and make sure you're not rushing. And we've seen that. You've seen that in the past with people who don't know what they're doing and think, oh, that's a good deal, I have to get it, and they'll rush in. And you've saved plenty of butts from people that were going to rush in and put an offer in, or have, worst case scenario, then they come to you and you're like, mate, that's a lemon. It's got to go.
Yeah, I've met all of that.
Yeah, all of those people. So, Bob, how do you personally – actually, before we go into what you do, because I know what you do, I want to talk about going back to decision fatigue. And decision fatigue is something – it is actually a thing. So we actually do get – and almost have a limited amount of decisions we can make a day. Our brain does get tired. And there is a lot of research on that. If you look at the research on judges in prisons, there is plenty. If you want to go out on parole, you want to go up in the morning, not in the afternoon. In the afternoon, you're more likely to get a no. There was thousands and thousands of studies done. So you're better off making decisions when your brain is fresh. And that's earlier in the day, because if you've got a big decision, you do not want to leave it to the end of the day because you're tired and you won't make the best decision. And we all know that with work. We might have something hard to do. You and I spoke on the weekend. You said, let's do that tomorrow morning when we're both fresh. We were talking about something that we wanted to have a concept around. But so decision fatigue is a thing. So just being aware that if you're needing to make a decision, later in the day is not the best time to do it.
No.
So make the decisions in the morning.
And that's where procrastination can work against you, because you've got a bigger decision to make. You should be making it, pretty much first up.
Yeah.
Once you're nicely awake. But because of the importance of it, or the enormity of it, whatever, you push it out and out, and you get to a point, well, damn, I got to make this decision. Somebody's hanging off me. Somebody wants the answer. And it's like 5:30 in the afternoon. And you've had a big day, and not the way to go at all. Just even timing those decisions, the important ones.
Bob, what's been one of the in your early days when you were learning to make decisions, because you didn't have all that experience behind you, and
courses, nothing,
yeah,
trying to reverse engineer what other developers were doing,
which is just time consuming, and
that's all you could do back then.
Yeah. So in those, back around there, or in your early days, what was the biggest? So that's what I want to know. What was the biggest decision you ever had to make, whether it was a yes or a no? What was one that you're like, oh, this was tough, and you did it, and you remember the outcome because it was, important.
Well, the outcome was okay, but probably my first two projects, as most people know, or if you listen to me before, were creative type strategies where I was able to do them without putting any money in, basically. But my third project was a bigger project, and I had to put quite a chunk of money in, but I also had to borrow a lot, remembering that you're probably borrowing 4 or 5 times as much as the money that you put into it. So a big chunk of debt. And I'd never borrowed that quantum of money before, and it was a lot. It was that I was fearful. And I started, you do a lot of people think, starting to think of the worst case scenario. What if it all goes to partying? What if, they call me in, and what if I can't pay it back? And are they going to take my house because they only just got a house? And oh, hang on, I've got to get out of there. So looking at the worst case scenario, you can't dwell on that. I mean, you have to acknowledge, okay, can I, will I keep living? Like, they don't hang you. So yeah, I can survive that, but don't concentrate on it, because that's like such a low percentage play. Why would you put a lot of your percentage of your thought into something that's like a 1 or a 0.01% chance it's going to come off? So that was one. My first big thing was my first big loan.
Going into that.
Yeah. But, I was young and brave, and I did, and it worked out. But, I still remember that.
So, Bob, what was one decision that you made that you wished you'd made differently, and what did you learn from that?
Oh, yeah. Try not to have regrets, but there was a project. So I was quite busy on a project. There was a 6 townhouse project, but it was quite complex. I bought a block that was basically a V-shaped gully, and we had to build a big concrete slab over the gully. And it was quite a complex thing, and I was really involved a lot. It was heavy on structural engineering, so I was in there like boots and all, just getting it sorted out up front, because I knew it was going to be a good project. I knew that, but it was quite busy, and there's a few other things going on, and I was busy. And a project came up in the next street. So an agent I know phoned me and said, look, there's a site come up in the street behind where you're doing your project. And I said, oh, yeah, okay, rightio. Well, send me the details. And he sent me the details, and it was a site that actually had a development permit. And I'd sort of put it off. I did the numbers, and starting to look all right. But I kept getting dragged back to the project I was working on, and a few other things I was doing. And it just took my time. And I'd put it on the back burner. And I sort of made the wrong decision that, it'll be there next week or the week. I just got to do this. It looks good. It's looking good. Anyway, I got back to him. It's probably a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks later, and somebody had just come in and signed a contract on it.
Oh, what did that teach you?
Well, it taught me, if there's something there that looks good, jump on it. Be decisive, jump on it. I knew it. I knew it worked, but I just got sidetracked with this other thing. There's a few issues I had to solve, with the engineering, and it wasn't your average straightforward project. And there's my excuse here. I'm making excuses already as to why I didn't.
Could you have found the time to do it?
Of course I could have.
Yeah.
Yeah, if somebody held a gun to my head and said, sit down here for 3 hours now and go through this project and make your mind up whether you're going to do it or not.
What did that project, the equivalent of today's money, what would it have made?
Oh, in today's money, probably maybe 800,000, 900,000.
Oh, $900,000 mistake. Ow.
Yeah.
Ow.
But
that's property development all over. I mean, people listening now, you just brought up a basic duplex, not high end, nothing like that. That can make 400,000, and people are on the fence. If you equate that, I just went, ow, this is the same. It's like, ow, that could be you.
Yeah, it was a small apartment project, very well positioned, good suburb.
Yep.
And what made it even worse is because it was a block from the project I was doing, I had to watch that thing for the next 18, 20, 24 months probably while I did my other project. I had to watch that one.
Oh.
And it actually finished before my project did, because it was more straightforward. Mine was, like, from a construction point of view, more complex. And I had to sit there and watch it.
Oh, there you go.
And I watched it sell fast.
Oh, dear. Oh,
and
dear.
I knew what they made. Anyway, but you can't.
Yep.
You can't live life looking in a rear vision mirror.
It's a good example of when you decided to do something.
Oh, good on the person that bought it anyway. Yeah.
So, Bob, do you have a formula that you sort of live by for making those property development decisions?
Well, yeah, I guess like a bit of a framework type thing. Yeah. Well, I guess when you're making a decision, there's things that are like negotiable and non-negotiable. There's non-negotiables. Like a non-negotiable will be the project has to make a certain level of profit, because if it doesn't, well, you won't get finance. The risk, it's more risky if you're like on a very skinny margin. You don't want to do that. You want to make it a decent profit. So in terms of, does it meet my non-negotiables? Non-negotiable, I just gave an example, margin, whole thing, does it, feasibility fit does. So first thing I look at, does it fit that parameter, and it's like, is the risks, and you got to look at risks, are they known and are they manageable? And there's risks in everything, as we know. Jumping in your car and driving somewhere is risky, walking across the road is risky. There's risk everywhere.
Shares, Bitcoin, everything has risk.
Everything has risk.
The bank.
Yeah. So I guess I guess, are the risks known and are they manageable? And that's important. And then and sometimes if I'm struggling to make a decision on something, it's sort of like, oh, I'm not sure. Am I avoiding that decision because it's unsafe, or am I just uncomfortable for just being uncomfortable for uncomfortable's sake? So that gets back to the analytics, I guess, as well. I'm trying to keep the emotion out of stuff. And if I'm a bit, what is it? What is it? Why am I slow to make this decision? Does it remind me of something that didn't go well for me, in some other, it might even have anything to do with property development, somewhere on, and old things come. Am I making that decision just because I feel a bit uncomfortable about it? Or is it work? Is it analytical? Does it stack? Stop it. Get on there. Make your decision and get moving. Because if I don't make the decision, someone else will. Like, I didn't buy that site, someone else did. They made the 900,000 equivalent $1 million, whatever the equivalent is today. I didn't. And that came back to a decision that I could have made. I could have made it faster. Something as simple as that. Being really too slow to make a decision. Oh well.
Oh, well. Bob, I think we've really unpacked decisions, and I think that if we summarize this, it's really good developers make decisions based on systems, and they build confidence on the way. They don't necessarily wait for the ducks to line up. Everything doesn't have to be certain, but they are certain enough to move forward, especially that with your framework. I really like that. So you'll become more experienced, but there is experience you can lean on if you work with people like us. And we do offer a mentoring program, so if you're interested, or even in coming to our workshop in May on the Gold Coast, 1st, 2nd and 3rd, there'll be a link below, so reach out, have a chat to the team. But at the end of the day, success comes from every decision you ever made. So where you are right now in life is because of every decision you made or didn't make that put you sitting exactly where you are right now. I sat next to a guy on a plane who persisted me to go out with him multiple times.
How dare he?
And I end up sitting here doing a podcast and bought a childcare last week. Who would have thought? But those decisions that you make in life, or any decision, you choose to eat a donut for breakfast, you choose to eat something healthy for breakfast. They all deliver an outcome. So if property development is the outcome somebody wants, then you've got to make those decisions that will make that happen. And I think that summarizes life, really. It's just all about the decisions you make. Stop overthinking it. Put a system in place. Your framework is brilliant. That if you want something, decide to go get it and go make it happen. Because there is no knight in shining armor that's going to ride on up and pop you on the back of his horse. Just sell your own blimmin' horse and off you go. That's what I say.
Yep.
So thanks, Bob. Great chat, great insights. We'll catch everybody next week on episode 240. Bye for now.
See ya.